My twin sister became obsessed with my relationship, stalked my fiancé, tried to replace me at my wedding, so I cut her off forever despite family pressure. I'm 27 years old, and I have a twin sister named Emily, also 27. You'd think growing up with a twin would be fun, like having a built-in best friend. That's what people always assume. But for me, it was never like that. Emily wasn't my best friend. She was something else entirely, some tea. From the outside, we looked like the perfect twin sisters. We were identical, same brown hair, same green eyes, same voice, same face. But personality-wise, we couldn't be more different. I was quiet, artistic a bit in. Even when we were little, she had this obsession with copying me. She'd beg our mom, who's now in her mid-50s, to buy her the same clothes I had. If I said I liked the color blue, suddenly she did too. If I wanted to play with a doll, she wanted that exact one, even if she hadn't cared 5 minutes ago. At first, it seemed like harmless mimicry, the kind people joke about when they talk about twins. But it didn't stop. In elementary school, if I made a new friend, Emily would immediately try to get close to them, and then slowly push me out. I remember once, in 4th grade, I had a best friend named Leah. One day, Leah just stopped talking to me. I didn't find out until later that Emily had told her I'd said mean things about her behind her back. When I confronted Emily, she just smiled and said, "You're too sensitive." By the time we were 14, the obsession had gotten weirder. I kept a journal back then, typical teenage girl stuff, writing about boys I liked or arguments with our mom. One day, I couldn't find it. A week later, I overheard Emily quoting a private entry to her friend in the hallway, laughing. When I confronted her again, she claimed it had fallen behind the bed, and she was just curious. No apology, no guilt. That was the first time I started locking my room when I left the house. Our parents, especially our mom, always brushed it off. "She just loves you," they'd say. "You're her role model." I tried to believe that. I wanted to, but it never sat right with me. It didn't feel like admiration. It felt like something else, like she wanted to be me, but also destroy me at the same time. When we got to high school at 16, things escalated. We were both attractive. I'm not bragging, just being honest. Being identical twins made us kind of popular by default. But whenever a guy showed interest in me, Emily would find a way to insert herself. She'd flirt. She'd show up in the same outfit. She'd even try to confuse them. I once had a crush named Mark, who I'd been talking to for weeks. The night before the homecoming dance, he told me, "I thought we were already going together. Didn't you say yes last Friday?" I hadn't, but Emily had. That was the first time we had a real fight, like screaming and crying. I told her she was sick. She told me I was selfish for thinking everything was mine. Our dad, he's also in his mid-50s now, made us apologize and hug, but it didn't solve anything. We went back to pretending everything was fine, because that's what our family always did. Fake peace over uncomfortable truth. I decided from that point on to pull away. I stopped sharing things with her. I didn't talk about who I liked or what I planned. I applied to a different college, secretly. When I got in, I didn't even tell her until 2 months before move-in day. It was the only way I could carve out space to breathe. But I didn't know, back then, that distance wouldn't fix it. I thought leaving for college would be the end of her obsession. I had no idea that she would find ways to follow me, watch me, and sabotage my life from afar. That realization didn't hit me until college. And that's where everything started to truly unravel. College was supposed to be my fresh start. I moved states, chose a university Emily didn't even apply to, and hoped I could finally have a life that wasn't shadowed by her. I was 18, finally living in a dorm, learning who I was outside of being someone's twin. And for a while, it worked. I made friends. I joined a few clubs. I even started dating again, cautiously but hopefully. There was a guy named Daniel in my sophomore year, 19 at the time, who was sweet, smart, and funny in that awkward, endearing way. We met through a campus film club, and after a few weeks of flirtation, we started dating. It wasn't some whirlwind romance, but it felt real, safe, honest. Then weird things started happening. Daniel suddenly began pulling away. One day, he was affectionate and excited to introduce me to his friends. The next, he was cold and distant, barely replying to texts. I asked him what was wrong, and all he said was, I didn't know you were seeing someone else. I was stunned. I had never cheated, never even looked at another guy. When I pressed him, he showed me a screenshot from a number he didn't recognize, messages supposedly from me, flirting with someone named Jake, talking about how boring Daniel was. It wasn't me. The phrasing was off. The emojis were wrong. I never used the tongue-out emoji. Emily does. But when I told Daniel about my suspicions, he didn't believe me. He said, I don't know, maybe you've got a twin or something. I paused. I hadn't even told him I had a twin. It wasn't something I advertised after years of the drama it brought. I asked where he heard that, and he said, oh, a girl messaged me on Instagram weeks ago. Said she was your sister. She warned me that you have a history of cheating. I thought she was just being protective. That's when it clicked. Emily had found him. She was stalking my social media, finding my new life, inserting herself again. and this time from miles away. I confronted her on the phone that night. I was shaking. She acted clueless at first, then offended. Wow, you're seriously accusing me of catfishing your boyfriend? Are you hearing yourself? But she didn't deny knowing his name. She didn't even pretend not to follow me with a burner account. When I asked why she'd message him, her voice turned flat and cold. You never introduced me to anyone important in your life anymore. I'm your sister. I have a right to know who's around you. I blocked her after that call. It was the first time I'd done something that direct. My parents, of course, got involved within 24 hours. Emily called our mom crying, saying I'd cut her off for no reason. The next day, I got a long email from my mother. She's your sister. She just misses you. Don't let a man come between you two. A man didn't come between us. She did. Over the next 2 years, it kept happening. I had another short relationship my junior year, and that ended the same way. Weird behavior, mixed messages, confusion that could only be explained by someone whispering in the background. Once, I thought I was losing my mind. I started second-guessing every conversation, wondering if I'd said something wrong or forgotten something. I even considered seeing a therapist because I felt like I was always being watched, even though Emily lived across the country. But that feeling wasn't in my head. It was real. I found out during senior year that she had created a fake Facebook profile using photos from my actual account. Different name, same face. She'd joined local groups, messaged people I knew, and even commented on posts from my university student pages. That was the final straw. I went nuclear. I reported the account, contacted Facebook, and emailed screenshots to my parents, demanding they talk to her. But instead of support, my mom told me I was being dramatic. My dad said, "You two have always had a complicated bond. Maybe she's just jealous." That was the word I had avoided for years, jealous. But now it felt like something more than jealousy. It felt like possession, like she believed my life was hers to interfere in, take from, or live through. After graduation, I cut her off again. No more calls. No more family group chats. I didn't even give her my new address. I changed my phone number. It worked for a little while. Then, I met Ryan. And that's when things went from creepy to dangerous. I met Ryan when I was 24. He was 26 then, a quiet, thoughtful guy who worked in architecture and loved hiking, dogs, and obscure European films. We met at a friend's game night and clicked instantly. For the first time in years, I felt like I could trust someone again. We took things slowly, especially since I'd been so burned before. But Ryan was patient and kind and normal. He didn't play games or make me question my sanity. We dated for over a year before he proposed. He planned it perfectly, a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains, just the two of us, no cell service, no distractions. I said yes, sobbing happy tears, already picturing a peaceful life with him. One free of drama, chaos, and especially Emily. I hadn't spoken to Emily in nearly 2 years by then. I'd blocked her on every platform and even asked my parents not to share updates about me. But unfortunately, they didn't respect that boundary. After we got engaged, I made the mistake of posting a photo, just one, with the caption, "Can't wait to marry my best friend." That was enough. The next morning, I had 3 missed calls from unknown numbers and a string of emails from addresses I didn't recognize. The subject lines? All variations of congrats and nice ring. But the content was creepy. Vague comments like, "He won't love you like you think he will," and "You're not the one he talks to at night." I showed them to Ryan. We both knew instantly. It had to be Emily. She'd done this before, contacted boyfriends, made fake accounts, tried to turn people against me. But this was different. There was a weird tone to it, almost like she wasn't just trying to ruin things, she was trying to replace me. Ryan blocked the emails. I changed my phone number again. I deleted the engagement post and locked down every account. I felt gross, like I couldn't even enjoy my own engagement without my sister hovering in the shadows, watching, copying, poisoning. Things got worse about a month later. Ryan started getting texts from an unfamiliar number. The messages included details about our relationship, things no one outside our inner circle should have known. Were we gone on our second date? The nickname he called me when we were alone. The type of cake we were planning to have at the wedding. He asked me if I'd told anyone. I hadn't, not even my parents. That's when it hit me. Emily must have been spying on us somehow. I did a sweep of our apartment. Ryan thought I was being paranoid, but I didn't care. And sure enough, I found a small recording device hidden behind a photo frame in our bedroom. I stood there, shaking, holding the damn thing in my hand. Ryan looked horrified. "That's not normal," he said. "That's not sibling jealousy. That's obsession." We filed a police report. They couldn't prove it was Emily directly, since the device had no fingerprints and the apartment door showed no signs of forced entry. But I knew. Who else would do that? When I told my parents, they were, once again, dismissive. "You're sure you didn't just misplace that? Maybe a maintenance guy?" And then my mom added, "Don't accuse your sister of things just because you're stressed. It's your wedding. Emotions are high." That was the final straw for Ryan. He told me, "We're cutting them off. All of them. You don't owe them anything if they won't protect you." So we did. We moved up the wedding date to reduce the window for Emily to sabotage anything. We planned everything quietly with a tight circle of friends. We made vendors sign NDAs. We changed venues 3 times. No public announcements. No Facebook event. No Instagram hashtags. For a while, it seemed like it would work. She didn't show up to the bridal shower. She didn't crash the rehearsal dinner. But on the morning of our wedding, something happened that nearly destroyed everything and exposed how far gone she really was. The wedding morning started out perfectly. I woke up early, surrounded by my closest friends, my hairdresser and makeup artist already on site, and Ryan texting me good morning with a photo of our dog in a bow tie. It felt safe, warm, and joyful. The kind of day I had dreamed of for years. That lasted about 2 hours. Around 10 a.m., my maid of honor, Jess, pulled me aside with a weird look on her face. She said, "You're not going to believe this. Someone showed up at the hotel lobby claiming to be you." I froze. "What?" Jess nodded, her voice serious now. She said she was the bride and that you asked her to check in under your name. She had your full name, your wedding planner's name, even your hair appointment schedule. It was Emily. Somehow, and to this day, I still don't know how, she had gotten every single detail. She even wore a white dress. Not a wedding gown, but something close. And the creepiest part? She styled her hair exactly like mine and wore makeup to match my look. Like she'd studied me. Like she was planning to replace me. Security was called. Jess didn't let her up to our floor. The hotel manager personally escorted her out after she caused a scene in the lobby, screaming about being the real bride and how I had stolen her life. She shoved a vase off the concierge desk and shattered it. They almost called the police, but she left before they arrived. I was in shock. I couldn't process what had happened. My hands were shaking. I sat in a chair while my makeup artist tried to touch up my face, but I couldn't stop crying. Ryan didn't know until right before the ceremony. Jess told him privately, and I saw his jaw tighten in that way it always did when he was holding back fury. He just kissed my forehead and said, "She didn't win. You're here. I'm here. Let's do this." And we did. We got married. I walked down the aisle, and I married the man I loved, with no interruptions, no scenes, no drama beyond what had already happened. But even as I smiled through the vows and kissed him under the string lights, part of me felt violated, like my identity had been hijacked by the one person who should have protected it most. We hired a lawyer the next day and sent Emily a formal cease and desist letter. We made it clear, if she came near us again, we would press charges. No more phone calls, no emails, no flying across the country pretending to be me. I went completely no contact with her. I also told my parents, firmly, that if they continued to defend her or try to mediate, I would go no contact with them too. My dad respected it. My mom didn't. That's when the guilt tripping started. Phone calls, letters, relatives texting me things like, "She's your twin. She's sick. You can't just throw her away." But I can. And I did. Because love does not mean accepting abuse. Family does not mean tolerating obsession. I chose peace. I chose my life. I chose me. In the weeks after our wedding, I felt like I was living 2 lives. In one, I was a newlywed, building a calm, beautiful life with a man who respected and protected me. We went on our honeymoon, returned to a cozy apartment filled with wedding gifts and love letters, and adopted a second dog. It was everything I ever wanted. In the other life, the shadow life, I was still being dragged back into the storm my sister created. Not by her directly, but through my family. My mom called weekly, leaving voicemails that grew more manipulative each time. One message said, "Emily misses you." She was just confused. "You've always been the stronger one. Be the bigger person." Another simply said, "She's your sister. That bond can't be broken." She didn't ask how I was. She didn't mention Ryan. Not once did she acknowledge the horror of what happened. The stalking, the impersonation, the attempted sabotage. It was like that part didn't count. Eventually, my dad broke down and called me. Unlike my mom, he didn't defend Emily's behavior. Instead, he said something that shocked me. "I need to tell you something about Emily," he said, "and I should have told you years ago." He confessed that Emily had been seeing therapists since high school. She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder at 17. My parents had kept it quiet, partly to protect her privacy, but mostly, I think, out of denial. They thought if they just kept things normal, it would go away. He also told me something even worse. Emily had done something similar before. When she was 19 and I was away at college, she had briefly dated one of my high school exes. Without telling anyone, she contacted him, flirted with him online, and pretended to be me, but better. It had ended badly. He blocked her, and she spun the story to my parents as he misunderstood. I never knew. Suddenly, so much made sense. The sabotage, the copying, the weird comments about how I always got everything. It wasn't just jealousy. It was a deeply rooted mental health issue my family had chosen to ignore and hide. And I had paid the price for that silence. I asked my dad, "Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you protect me?" His voice cracked. because we were afraid of losing both of you. And I think we already did. He apologized, sincerely, and I appreciated that. But it didn't change what happened. Emily had violated every boundary imaginable. She had crossed a line that no diagnosis could excuse. I wasn't angry because she was sick. I was angry because everyone enabled her sickness while expecting me to stay silent, to forgive, to bend. I told my dad, if you want a relationship with me, you'll need to stop asking me to fix this. Because I won't. And to his credit, he did. He stopped pressuring me. He came to visit us quietly a few months later, met Ryan properly for the first time, and even cried a little when he saw how peaceful I finally looked. My mom, on the other hand, doubled down. She continued pushing for reconciliation, blaming Ryan, accusing me of choosing a man over my sister. At one point, she even said, "One day you'll regret this. Blood is thicker than water." But you know what? Water nourishes. Blood stains. It's been 3 years now. 3 years since the wedding. 3 years since I looked my twin sister in the face for the last time. Or rather, looked into the face of someone pretending to be me. People sometimes ask if I miss her. And the truth is, I miss the idea of her. I miss what we could have been. Sisters who cheered each other on, who grew up and grew better, who leaned on each other through adulthood. I'm more in that fantasy, like someone grieves a dream that never came true. But I don't miss her. Not the real her. Not the woman who tracked my fiancé, bugged my apartment, tried to ruin my wedding, and screamed in a hotel lobby that she was the real bride. I don't miss the years of manipulation, sabotage, and obsession. I don't miss the way she made me question my reality. And I sure as hell don't miss how my mother expected me to forgive all of that in the name of sisterhood. Cutting her off wasn't easy. It came with pain, guilt, and family estrangement. Holidays became quieter. Some relatives stopped calling. Group chats were awkward or excluded me entirely. But you know what replaced all of that? Peace. Real, honest, boring peace. I wake up next to a husband who knows what I've been through and loves me harder for it. We built boundaries like others build fences, strong, clear, and necessary. I've built friendships with people who value me, not my drama. I go to therapy. I've unlearned the habit of walking on eggshells. I no longer scan rooms, wondering if someone's watching me or trying to steal my life. Sometimes I see twins on the street, giggling, arms linked, moving in sync, and a little ache tugs at my heart. But I let it pass, because I've learned that DNA doesn't guarantee loyalty, and being born together doesn't mean you're meant to walk through life together. I chose myself, finally, and I don't regret it. Not one bit.